All right, couple questions, Coach. First of all, so we don't sound like ignorant idiots, pronounce your first name for us so we get that one right. And then secondly, and more importantly, what attracted you to West Virginia?
Greg, a lot of people ask me that same question. Pronounce my name as ShaDon. All right, it's a capital D. It's not hyphenated. So you guys, it's ShaDon. Okay. And to answer your second question, you know, the thing that attracted me to West Virginia obviously was the head football coach. You know, the relationship that I have with him, knowing Coach Brown for over 20 years now. You know, that attracted me initially. But then once I came and visited the place and seeing the visual of what they have here and what they're trying to build with the new facility and the prospect, you know, of this program, the perspective of this program is climbing. And so you always want to be a part of something like that. But initially, obviously, it was my relationship with Coach Brown.
All right, next question here from Keenan Cummings. Go ahead, Keenan.
Hey, ShaDon. Was curious on the recruiting side, what areas you're going to be targeting, what areas you're going to handle, and then secondly, how much have you gotten to know your personnel yet, and what do you think about what you got there in the safety?
How you doing, Keenan? Good to meet you. I know we follow each other on social media. I will be recruiting a little small piece of West Virginia going up toward the DMV. So I'll recruit in the DMV area, as well as I'll recruit North Florida, and then I'll get into South Georgia. That'll be my areas. And then we will spot recruit Kentucky, which is a state that, you know, has a few players that we'll have some connections to that are good players. And so we'll spot that area. And then in talking about our personnel, you know, obviously there's some good players still here on the roster from last year with having a number 4 ranked defense in the country and the number 1 overall pass defense in the country. There's still some good pieces here. I think, you know, the evaluation of the talent, I think the talent level's high. I think we've got, we're obviously going to have to build some depth through spring ball, and that's what spring ball is for. But I think from a talent wise, we got good enough defense to be one of the top defenses again in the Big 12.
Your next question comes from Cody Nesper. Go ahead, Cody.
Hi, ShaDon. Good to meet you. I just wanted to ask, we know that you and Neil are from the same hometown, but you went to different schools. Just what's your history with Neil? I mean, how early did you guys first meet, and how have you kept in touch, you know, as you've both become coaches?
Yeah, Cody, we have known each other since I think 1994 is when his dad took over as the principal at Boyle County High School, which was a rival high school of mine. I played at Danville High School. It's a huge crosstown rival. But we played all 3 sports, basketball, football, and baseball. And we competed against each other in tournaments and things of that nature. And I'm sure we wasn't as friendly back then as we are now. But so I got to know him through that. And you know, in a small town, most of the good athletes kind of know each other from playing on all-star teams and that sort of thing. And then obviously, you know, as we graduated and went our ways, one of his roommates in college was one of my best friends in high school, Chase Harp, whose dad was our high school football coach. So we always stayed in touch. And then when we got into our professional career, you know, we would text and call and get together in the off season and talk football, and as well as, you know, his father, who was a longtime principal and administrator in the education field, was the guy that got me into high school football for 4 years. So I was a high school head coach from 08 to 2010, 08 through 2010. And that job was given to me in an opportunity that was probably, people were scratching their heads that I got it, but it was because of Tom Brown, which is Neil's dad. And I've got a great rapport and a great respect for the family. And, you know, Tom, his father, is somebody that I always lean on as somebody to ask questions when I'm going into an employment situation. And believe me, I called him when I found out about this opportunity.
All right, next question from Greg Hunter. Go ahead, Greg.
So, Coach, the scheme that West Virginia runs defensively, how unique is it compared to some of the things you've seen? How much do you have to adapt?
Yeah, Greg, I think it's very unique. It's different than anything I've ever been a part of. I've been blessed. You know, sometimes guys get into programs or offense or defense, and they say, I'm this guy or that guy. Well, I've been a 3-4 guy my whole career. That's 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers, and 4 deep secondary players. And that's been, you know, mainly in my 18 years of coaching, that's what I've been. And, you know, this opportunity to come in here and coach in a new scheme, all right, learn a different defense and put, you know, my spin on the secondary was intriguing. But this defense is very complex and it's got a lot of moving parts. I think it's very conducive to kids to play in because it allows them to be free and run around and make plays as opposed to a system that's more what I call a stagnant defense. So I'm learning as we go. Just I tell the freshman guys, I'm just like you guys. I'm learning some of the terminology as we go. And obviously we're tweaking some things that I'm more comfortable with, but I'm learning because it was really good last year. And I live by the philosophy and always will. If it's not broke, don't try to fix it. So last year defensively was really good. And so there doesn't need to be a wholesale change in what we're doing here.
All right, next question, Kevin Kinder. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hi, Coach. Good to meet you.
Hi, Kevin.
Wanted a little bit about how you get to know your players to evaluate them and going into spring. Are you a film guy? Are you a blank slate guy? Do you want to see what they do on the field? What all goes into that process for you?
Yeah, I think I'm more of a blank slate guy. You know, I like to evaluate what I see, and I don't watch a ton of film. Some people think that's crazy. How do you learn it? Well, I try to watch it from a schematic standpoint and not necessarily who they are out there playing, but okay, how does that fit together and what we're doing defensively? But I give all the players a clean slate because I want them to feel like it's a fresh start as well. You know, they had a former position coach. Now they get a new coach. I don't want guys to feel like, well, I don't have a chance if I wasn't a starter last year or I was a starter last year. I get a chance to coast. I want it to be to where the guys have to compete. And I love to see guys that are kind of in that underdog role, raise their level of play and get a chance to make plays. Obviously, we need them all. We need all of them on the defensive side. But I just truly feel like it helps the kid to have a clean slate, and anything that they did in the past is in the past, and now we can move forward.
Next question from John Antonik. Go ahead, John.
Curious, Coach, what's the best piece of advice you've been given as a coach, and how have you imparted that in your guys?
Wow. I think the best piece of advice I've ever gotten from a coach, it was my first year of coaching, and it's a little bit cliche. It's a little bit Lou Holtz-ish. It was the players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm. And
the second one that I got, and I know you asked for one, but I'm gonna give you two.
Well,
all right. And the second one I've gotten that I try to live by is take what you do very seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. So those are the two things that I try to live by as a coach. And I think it helps me because number one, it's all about the players, treating them like they're your sons and trying to develop them not only as a player, but as a person. And then number two, don't think as a coach or a player, it's all about you. It's about the team. It's about what's best for the group as opposed to what's best for you. And so I think those things are important, and I try to live by those, and I share those same with my players.
Next question from Ryan Pritt. Go ahead, Ryan. Actually, he took his hand down, so we're going to go to Mike Kazaza. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, ShaDon, good to meet you.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I have two for you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
One is just kind of a philosophical thing, I guess, a little bit, but it wasn't long ago where being a defensive coordinator, and maybe in particular a cornerback coach or a secondary coach, taking one of those jobs was high risk living because of types of offenses and quarterbacks and receivers. Your predecessor did very well, obviously, and I think Neil believes that programs are investing in defense and getting better and better at that. From the outside, has there been like a perception shift among coaches that it's more inviting than intimidating now to do what you're doing?
Well, I'll tell you this: every Saturday, it's a little frightening, just to be honest with you. the things that people are doing offensively and the rules that are geared toward the offense, being successful. But I think it runs in cycles. I think everything in our world runs in cycles. And right now we're hit a cycle where defensive coaches are getting a little bit more of a look, so to speak, in terms of their professional careers and the opportunity to move up. But I also think defenses are fashionable. So if you're tied to a scheme that is doing really well currently, other head coaches want a piece of that scheme in their programs. So if you're in the right scheme, I think it can be a rewarding thing. But I think, like I said, amongst the college football world and the coaches, I think defensive football really hadn't changed a whole lot. I think what has changed is how offensive coaches and head coaches run their programs in a sense that I think people are now have decided, instead of running 100 plays a game on offense, let's run 65 to 70 plays a game, and let's allow our defense not to play 90 to 100 snaps, which also helps defensive football teams. So I think there's a little bit less emphasis on the amount of points or amount of plays you're running, but the quality of the plays you're running.
Take a few more here. First from Greg Hunter.
ShaDon, back to your high school days against Neil. What position did you play? Did you guys ever actually go head to head, and ultimately who came out on top?
Well, I played linebacker, okay, and Coach Brown played wide receiver, and Coach Brown was the biggest crap talker that I ever played against. All right, because he's a jar a little bit. But there was one instance that we really collided, and we talked about this last week, I think. But we're playing in a playoff game in 1996, I think it was, in a playoff game, and I was playing running back, and I go in to score, and I get tackled below the waist, and I dive and reach the ball out over the goal line, and they say that I fumbled. I basically set the ball on the ground over the goal line. So Coach Neil Brown, the player at the time, comes up and smacks the ball out of my hand as I'm on the ground, picks it up. They rule it a fumble, and he gets the ball, and his team goes crazy, stops us from scoring in a big momentum shift. But he always says he was playing through the whistle, and I said he was trying to manipulate the rules.
We'll go ahead and take one here from Chris Anderson. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Coach. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Hi, Chris. Doing well.
Back on the recruiting side of things, a lot of coaches, maybe they went to high school or coached in an area, and they go back and they recruit there, no matter what school they're coaching at. Looking at your history, you've been kind of recruiting everywhere, from Florida to California, everywhere in between, and now, in the DMV, like you said, and some other spots. What's your key to kind of breaking into these new grounds and moving from different area to different area?
Well, you're right. I've been all over the country. I've recruited in California. I've recruited Texas. I've recruited Arizona. Georgia, Florida. You name it, I've been there. The number one thing is this: I'm a people person, and I believe in relationships. And I was a high school football coach, and so I know what those coaches are looking for when a coach communicates with them or comes into their building. They're wanting a genuine guy. And so I feel like if you can build relationships with people, then it doesn't matter. You can put me in Alaska and I can recruit Alaska because I'm gonna build relationships. And I try not to, no matter what logo I have on, I approach it that way. Some coaches feel like, if I have a certain logo on my left side of my shirt, then I can recruit a certain type of kid. And so what I do is I just go into every recruiting situation. First, I'm gonna build a relationship. I'm going to get to know the key players in the game, and then I'm going to do as much FBI on the kid. All right. What can I find out about the kid? What can I find out about his home life? All those things. And to me, that doesn't matter where you're from. That's just dealing with people. And I think I do a good job of that. And I've been able to recruit anywhere I've been. And so if you told me I got to recruit the state of Nebraska, I'm going to say, come on with it. Let's go.
All right, we got one more for you, Coach. Go ahead, Kevin Kinder.
Coach, a little bit on the personal side, moving, I know, is always stressful. Looks like family, you got to get through all of that. You're doing that, kind of right up against spring ball with all the, things we're talking about, adjustments there, but also doing it in a pandemic. How difficult has it been? The most difficult move you've had? What kind of help have you had doing that?
Well, the most difficult thing in touching on the pandemic was, I didn't want to move my children who's, I got a 15, 11, and they're in the 9th grade and 4th grade. If there was not a pandemic, I probably would have moved them immediately. But because of the pandemic, I felt like the move would have been more overwhelming for them with the COVID protocols and things of that nature. So yes, it has been difficult. Trying to find a house in Morgantown is difficult. Because they go so fast. So if you have a house you like, you better put an offer on it immediately, because if you turn around for 3 seconds, somebody else will buy it. So that's I've experienced that so far, but it's going good. I'm living in a hotel right now, and it's just me here right now and doing ball. My family's back home, and it's not a long drive. It's about 5.5. So I'll run back home on the weekends if I have a chance to watch my kids play sports, and then come back. But it's been okay. We've done this before. It's kind of the life of a college football coach. And we're just excited to get to meet more people here in Morgantown and just get a feel for the area. But so far it's been really good and really welcoming, and just excited to get my entire family here.
Okay. Thank you, ShaDon. We're going to go ahead and flip over to AJ now.